From the very first moment you listen to these words, a hidden door within your consciousness begins to open, because the law of attracting wealth is not something outside of you, but a divine principle already planted in your mind, waiting for recognition, faith, and alignment. You were never meant to struggle endlessly or chase prosperity as if it were a distant stranger, for abundance responds only to understanding, expectancy, and spiritual agreement with divine order. When the mind accepts lack, life reflects lack. But when the mind accepts abundance as a natural right, circumstances rearrange themselves in ways that appear miraculous to the unawakened observer. Every condition you experience today is the echo of past thoughts, spoken words, and inner beliefs, and wealth, like all things, moves along channels created by consciousness. The moment you cease fearing money, envying money, or doubting money, it loses power to escape you and begins to recognize you as its rightful steward. The universe is not impressed by effort alone, but responds to clarity, conviction, and unwavering trust in unseen supply. Many people unknowingly block prosperity by entertaining thoughts of unworthiness, believing riches belong to others, yet divine substance knows no favoritism and flows wherever it is welcomed without resistance. The law of attraction for wealth operates silently, responding to inner commands rather than outer actions, and the spoken word becomes the wand that shapes visible reality. When you speak with authority, expectation, and gratitude, you set unseen forces into motion, arranging opportunities, ideas, and encounters that align with your declared good. Faith is not blind hope, but calm assurance that what is divinely intended cannot be delayed or denied. Anxiety collapses the channel of supply, while trust widens it, allowing abundance to arrive through expected and unexpected avenues. You are not required to know how wealth will come, only to know that it must come, because divine intelligence has infinite ways to deliver provision. When desire is purified of fear and doubt, it becomes a powerful magnet, drawing resources with effortless precision. Wealth is not merely currency, but freedom, expression, generosity, and fulfillment of purpose, and when purpose aligns with divine law, supply follows naturally. As you align your thoughts with prosperity, you step into a higher agreement where opportunities appear naturally, doors open without force, and solutions emerge where confusion once ruled. The universe listens constantly, responding not to what you wish, but to what you consistently accept as true. The moment you declare abundance as your divine right and release resistance, unseen currents begin moving in your favor, quietly preparing the conditions for a greater demonstration of wealth. As this understanding deepens, a subtle shift occurs within the mind, and it is here that many unknowingly turn back, because the law begins to test faith precisely when old appearances seem strongest. When circumstances show delay, confusion, or apparent loss, the untrained mind assumes failure. Yet divine law is often most active when outer signs appear most silent. Wealth moves invisibly before it becomes visible, rearranging conditions behind the curtain of time, and impatience interrupts the very process it longs to complete. This is the hidden moment where suspense is born, where faith must stand without evidence, and trust must remain steady without reassurance. Many abandon their affirmation at this stage, not realizing they are standing on the threshold of fulfillment, mistaking silence for denial. The universe does not answer desperation, but it responds instantly to calm certainty. And this is the discipline that separates those who receive from those who repeat the cycle of waiting. When fear whispers that nothing is changing, it is only the echo of old beliefs dissolving, making room for a greater pattern to appear. Divine supply is never late, but it often arrives in forms unrecognized by expectation, disguised as a new idea, a sudden impulse, or an unexpected meeting. The mind trained in lack sees obstacles, while the mind trained in abundance recognizes signs, and perception determines outcome. Suspense exists to refine belief, to strip away dependency on appearances, and to anchor trust in the unseen law that never fails. At this point, inner dialogue becomes critical, because words spoken in doubt undo weeks of spiritual alignment, while words spoken in faith restore harmony instantly. The law does not punish uncertainty, but it mirrors it faithfully, producing mixed results until clarity is restored. When you persist in declaring prosperity, despite contrary evidence, you command the unseen forces to complete their assignment. Wealth then begins to move swiftly, as if catching up to a decision long delayed. Many breakthroughs occur immediately after the mind releases the need to struggle, proving that resistance, not effort, was the true barrier. Divine intelligence delights in surprising the faithful, delivering supply in ways that exceed expectation and dissolve old limitations. This suspenseful interval is not a test of worthiness, but a test of consistency, asking whether belief depends on sight or on spiritual law. When certainty becomes permanent, the outer world must rearrange, because reality has no choice but to conform to dominant consciousness. What once felt uncertain transforms into inevitability, and the mind settles into peace even before results appear. This peace is the signal that alignment is complete, and once it is reached, manifestation becomes unavoidable. The universe then responds decisively, and what was once anticipated begins to feel remembered, as though wealth was always destined to arrive at this precise moment. When this final realization settles into consciousness, the struggle ends not because effort stops, but because resistance dissolves, and wealth is recognized as a natural extension of spiritual alignment, rather than a reward for exhaustion. At this stage, the mind no longer questions whether abundance will come, because certainty has replaced hope, and expectation has matured into knowing. The individual who understands this law no longer chases money, for money responds obediently to clear direction and confident acceptance. Gratitude becomes a constant state, not dependent on results, but anchored in awareness that divine supply is inexhaustible and already complete in the unseen. What you consistently affirm with calm authority shapes the path of your life, and prosperity flows where it is mentally welcomed and emotionally trusted. When fear is dismissed as an illusion and doubt loses its voice, the mind becomes a clear channel through which wealth expresses itself freely. At this point, generosity increases naturally, because the fear of loss disappears, and giving becomes proof of inner abundance rather than sacrifice. Divine law multiplies what is given in faith, returning it through unexpected channels and expanded opportunities. The one who trusts the law rests even while action is taken, knowing that inspired action is guided, efficient, and perfectly timed. Wealth then ceases to be a goal and becomes a tool, serving higher purpose, creative expression, and joyful living. The outer world mirrors this inner mastery by presenting ease, flow, and synchronicity where obstacles once appeared. Opportunities recognize you effortlessly, people align with your intentions, and circumstances unfold with precision that feels divinely arranged. The mind, trained in prosperity, no longer reacts to temporary conditions because it understands that appearances are shadows of thought and therefore powerless to dictate destiny. Every affirmation spoken with conviction becomes a command, every expectation held in peace becomes a pathway, and every act of trust strengthens the bridge between the seen and unseen. This is the fulfillment of the law Florence Scovel Shinn revealed, where words become seeds and faith becomes the soil from which wealth inevitably grows. When you stand firmly in this understanding, life itself collaborates with you, proving again and again that divine abundance cannot be withheld from a mind that is prepared to receive it. What once seemed distant becomes familiar, what once felt impossible becomes ordinary, and prosperity expresses itself as harmony, security, and freedom. In this state, wealth is no longer something you seek, but something that seeks you, drawn irresistibly by your aligned consciousness and unwavering belief in divine order. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.